Hello there, Ray here, and we just made a secret programmable door. You can have it so the door will only open up for one of these 15 vibration types. If you guys didn't know, every Wednesday, as soon as Mojang drops the new snapshot, we open up a testing world where the viewers can hop on with me and do a live stream playing around with all the new things added. We even had one of the people that work on the Minecraft game join us. But if you missed that one, don't worry, we'll be having another one this Friday. Make sure you guys are subscribed as well as hit the bell so you don't miss out on those. And during that time, we made a bunch of cool contraptions, which I'll be showing some of them today. So here is the little redstone device, which can be hooked up to any type of secret door that you want to. Piston one, trapdoors, doesn't matter. The entrance is completely up to you. This device works on all of them. So to anyone else, they won't know what it takes to open this door. Be a wide range of things. Something like flicking a trapdoor might open it, maybe a lever flicking, maybe you have to open up a box to open it. As you can see, none of those actually open this door. Walking doesn't, jumping also doesn't work. So for this door to open, I programmed it so that it only opens when I throw a projectile. So I will just throw a projectile and you see that opens up the door. The uses for this device is pretty much unlimited, however you want to use it. Secret entrances or bases, anything that you want to kind of have hidden away with a unique wireless signal to activate it. And I would love to hear what you guys will use this device for. Now, as I said, it is programmable, so you can actually choose what exactly will make the door open up, just with this lectern here and flipping through the pages. Now there is over 20 different things that can activate the Sculk sensor. We put together this illustration here to show how it works. So the Sculk sensor will be checking to see if anything happens in this sphere. So if I would happen to place a block in here, it will activate it. And there's over 20 different things that it can detect and will put a signal out. Now if there's redstone hooked directly up to it, it will power that redstone, and the level of power that it gives to it will be determined how far the action occurs away from the Sculk sensor. So if you're really far from the Sculk sensor, it's going to put off a very low emission. If you're really close to the Sculk sensor, it's going to put off a high one. But it has another feature, which is if you hook a comparator up to it, it'll put off a signal strength specific to a vibration type. So it doesn't matter if you place a block here or if you place a block here, it's always going to put off the same type of signal when using a comparator. We actually made a unique device using both of these. The secret door opener uses the comparator, and we made a GPS type of detection device using the redstone, and that is also over here. It's pretty cool. We'll take a look at it later in the video. So as I said before, there is different vibration types, and this area here charts all 20 some types with demonstrations on how you can make each of them work. We just have our Sculk sensor and we're moving the signal over all the way to here, and we use comparators so we retain the same strength as right here, but start it right here. So anything that steps will have a signal of 1. Anything that flaps will have a signal of 2. Over here I got a bunch of mobs that have flapping noises. You can see in the bottom right are the subtitles. You can see like phantom flapping, bats also flap, and bees. So if I remove these wool blocks, which are insulating the vibrations, we can now get some flapping detections to go through, and that is a signal of 2. Next up is swimming. That is a signal of 3. So if I swim back and forth in here, produces 3. And if the player falls with an elytra, it's going to be a signal of 4. Anything hitting the ground, like items dropping or the player jumping, produces 5. And I also have the numbers over here. So next is 6, and this is produced by items splashing. There's some items splashing. Or it can also occur when the dog comes out of water and he shakes off. If someone would start eating some food, that's going to produce 7. Or if they shoot a projectile, just the projectile leaving the player is going to also produce 7 strength. If you actually finish eating your food, that's going to produce 8. Or if a projectile actually hits the ground, so when this comes back and hits the ground, there, that also produces 8. Adding or removing armor from armor stand is going to produce 9. So is hitting an entity. It also produces 9. Now, next one contains quite a bit. So it has to do with closing containers like chests, unswitching stuff like levers, unpressing the button, and also detaching blocks. So like removing trip wire from a trip hook that will activate it. And also dispenser failing. So I got a little example here. We got a dispenser and there's nothing in it. So if I press this, you see it will to a signal strength of 10. Now, signal strength of 11 is kind of the opposite. It has to do with actually opening the chest, turning the switch on, pressing the button, attaching the block. So essentially, this one's always going to happen first. Open up a chest is always going to activate first, and then only after it closes, then will this one go off. Some things will stay in that state, so like a trap door, if I flip it up, it's always going to be this signal over here, and if I flip it down, it's always going to be a signal of 10. Next has to do with block placing. So if you place down any blocks, including liquids, so I place down this liquid, it's going to produce 12 signal. And then if you pick up that block, that's considered like block breaking, and it's going to produce a signal of 13. There's only two left, that is 14 and 15 for redstone signals. So 14 goes to retracting pistons as well as reeling in a fishing rod. And 15 goes to extending a piston as well as casting out a fishing rod. Plus it also, lightning will activate it and explosions. So I got an example of the piston right here. The power of this piston, it extends, and you can see extending piston gives 15. The fishing rod one is actually currently mixed around. So if I throw out a fishing rod, it's going to produce 14. And if I pull it in, it's going to produce 15, despite what Mojang says it should do. The lightning is pretty cool. Now they have lightning rods, so I can actually summon in lightning right here. And you can see that that produced 15. And here is TNT. TNT explosion is also going to be 15. So there it is right there. Perfect. You can use all these different vibration types to activate your secret door. So I'll show you guys how to program it. So wherever you have this little device, it's pretty small and simple. We got a Sculk sensor here. We have a Khappa. We make sure that little red light is on. So it's subtracting what is coming in from the side from what it sees from the Sculk sensor. So if this Sculk sensor tray puts off a really big number, and this thing also has a big number, it's going to subtract it to make a really small number out this side. You can think of these two blocks here as a way to prevent any vibration that's too low from activating your door over there. The next piece of circuitry is to prevent any signals that is too high from activating your door. So after it has removed all the low signals, any high signals will go into this device. If they are the exact type of vibration that you want to activate your door, they will end up right here. But the vibration is too powerful, it's going to end up here. Then we have a little bit of logic so that if it reaches this area here, we'll make sure that it can't go to the door. But if it only reaches to this area here, we'll make sure that it does go to the door. So this torch here is where the output is. I just hooked up some redstone. You can take this redstone to wherever you want to have your entrance. Now to program it, I have this lectern here, and you don't need to have these words or anything. You just need to have 15 pages with some type of text in each of them. I just wrote down the words so you kind of can visualize what are the different things that they will work for. So let's say you want door to only open up when flint and steel is used. So you go to this page and then you go back one. You gotta remember that. You always go back one from the one that you want. Now you just hit done and that is set up. So now if I use my flint and steel, you'll see the door opens up. Pretty cool. So yeah, it's very easy to program and use. Let's say I want to have it so that when an item hits the ground, open up. So I go to this page, then just go back one and then hit done. So now if I drop item, hits the ground, open up the door. But now flint and steel will no longer open up the door. So anytime you want, you can change it out. So take something new to open your door up. Now since there is 15 of these, you can go all the way up to 15 and then you can easily go back one. But if you go all the way down to one, let's say you want to use just walking and open up your door. I can't go back one more. So what you do is just hit done. And then you just turn off that comparator by right clicking it. So that little light's not on. So it's not in subtraction mode. And now it will work for walking. So if I walk, it'll open up, but it won't work for anything else. So that's how you make walking work. And then make sure if you want to change it back to something else, turn that back on again, and then you can set it up for anything else. So if you want to, you can just like have it so you hit an armor stand nearby, then it'll just open up. One thing to keep in mind when trying to activate it, it does have a 2-second period after you try something. So let's say I try dropping an item, it's not gonna be able to accept anything new until after 2 seconds. You can't just spam a whole bunch of different things and try tons of different things really quickly. The person trying to get into your base can't just try out tons of different things to try to open up the door. He's gonna have to wait 2 seconds in between each one. So if you happen to like walk up to the door and then you want to go into it, make sure you like stop for 2 seconds so you're not activating it, and then do whatever vibration you need to open it up. You also need to make sure that you don't have wool as the wall here. Otherwise, it's like insulation and the signals aren't going to be able to go through to it. You also want to make sure you have this device within 8 blocks of wherever you're going to detect you doing your secret method. So if you're like over here and your secret method is to jump up and down, you're too far away from it to detect you. We also made one that used locking repeaters and Foxman compacted it down. So this setup here works exactly the same as that one. The output is right here, so you would take that to wherever you wanted to. The only difference is this one uses a locking repeater, so if I would throw a projectile, you can see how it locks repeater, so none of the signal gets through. And only if I do the secret code, which is dropping an item, will it go through. And if you don't want the redstone to accidentally go off when you're flipping pages, you can just put in a block there and then pull the signal from here. So here's a trap that I set up to do with people that snoop into your stuff. So let's say this is your base, you have a shulker here, people always come in your base and snoop at your stuff. And I set up a trap so when somebody tries to look in your shulker box, they actually get shot by an arrow. So behind this painting here is a dispenser, and that dispenser has some arrows in it. This is just hooked up to the device. I have it programmed so that it is using this one, which is opening up a container. And also make sure that it's within range. So just to give you a little example of some type of trap you could set up. You could decide how potent you want the trap to be, to kill the player or just to hurt him a little bit. I know you guys will have a lot of fun with these in your bases or with secret traps. Like I said before, there's 2 main functions that the Sculk sensor has, being the comparator and the redstone. But for the redstone, you got to use this to determine where something occurred. So it's like GPS. So I can like flick this gate here, and it will determine where it actually happened at just by using 2 Sculk sensors. If I flip this middle one here, you'll see that it determines it to be near the center. And if I flick this one, it determines it to be off to the right hand side. The setup is actually pretty easy. We just have 2 Sculk sensors spaced out from each other. So when this gate opens, it's going to be closer to this one than that one. So this guy will produce a stronger signal than that one. So then what we do is we take both their signals and we just put them on opposite sides. So that guy's signal is going to start here and this guy's is going to start right there. And since this guy was stronger, he's going to emit more power. So his power is going to reach around here. And since this guy was weaker, his signal strength is going to start, but it's not going to go very far. Let's see how this looks. If I flick this, you can see that guy went pretty far with his and this guy didn't go very far with his. And the kind of the empty spot where there's no light, then that is the area where the action occurred. So if I drop an item like right there, you can see it tells that it's kind of in the center. Or if I throw an item right here, you can see it's kind of right around here. This works for all the different types of vibrations in the game, like placing a block. See, it determines it around here. The hardest part about showing where something occurred is to make a display that kind of illustrates something that's easy to understand. So just by having an area where the light is missing, it's kind of easy for people to understand, oh, that's where it's showing that vibration is occurring. But since the Sculk sensor range in which they can detect stuff is kind of limited, if I put like a block right here, you can see it is really far away from both of the Sculk sensors, so they didn't make very much signals. So the display isn't very pretty unless it's pretty close to these guys. Now the reason why the visualization isn't always perfectly lined up, that's because it can reach out and detect stuff up to 8 blocks away, but the signal strength it puts out can essentially go up to 16. So if something happens nearby it, it goes there, but if something happens a little bit farther, you can see it doesn't go over by 1, but it hops 2. If it's a little bit farther, it hops again. So it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio. Now I'm only using 2 Sculk sensors to determine where something happens. To do real triangulation, you need to have 3 Sculk sensors. But this already illustrates that you can locate where something is happening. Now there's another way you can kind of illustrate what is going on by kind of doing a 1-to-1 input to output. So if I place a block here, it's going to make an input and there is the output. This was shown to me by Lost XOR. So anything that happens at this Y level right here can only be detected by a single Sculk sensor. So only this one here is within range of that area there. And then he will send out power around him, which will activate this lamp here. So like dropping an item here, you see it goes straight down to that one. So if I would walk across this, you can see the path in which it detects and puts off light. Now if you just walk down here, it's going to activate a whole bunch of them. It's pretty crazy. If you made it this far in the video, don't forget to leave a like, as well as share with other Minecrafters. And if you'd like to take a look at this stuff in more detail, you can find the roll download in the description, as well as my Twitch channel if you want to check out all the archived live streams we've done over the years. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!